All right, everyone, let me sneak in here. Whew, got a new little setup tonight. See if I can get comfortable here. Got my phone. Need my microphone a little closer. Right there. All right, perfect. Let's see, maybe a little bit lower. Right there. I think that's pretty good. Let's turn on. Let me turn this on my phone so that I can see what the chat is. So hopefully everyone is doing well. Why am I'll play a little MLB The Show while we do this. All right, let me find this real quick. I don't know why it does this. It does not show up on my feed for, like, there we go. We're live. Let's check out the audio. There we go. All right, I can see myself. I can see the chat. Hopefully the volume is okay. If everyone could give a thumbs up, that would be awesome. I don't really have a good place. I got a new setup tonight, so I dragged over. I've got this nice little reclining chair. I can't play Diamond Dynasty right now, guys. It's saying that I'm not connected. What do you mean I'm not connected? There we go. Now I'm connected. Okay, cool. Let's see. When are we seeing more Road to the Show Matt? Road to the Show Matt is coming soon. I'll have the next episode out probably tomorrow. Weekends are tough. I'm at baseball most of the day, so can't really play a whole lot of video games. As a fielder, what was your favorite ball field? Oh, favorite ball at the field. The ball hit right at me. Right at me, just two hands out, field it, throw it. Would you take a 60-year-old Bonds or a 40-year-old Jeter to a 5 home runs in a month? I might take 60-year-old Bonds. Can he still be on the juice? So I actually don't do a bracket. College baseball, I love college baseball. College basketball is one thing that I've never really gotten into college basketball. So I don't do a bracket. We talked last week how I can only really do things where I feel really, like where I can put a lot of time into and feel really confident about, and I cannot put a lot of time into watching college basketball. I'm a huge Celtics fan, so I try to keep up with them if I'm going to keep up with anyone. Okay, so let's see here. So I'm just going to start this game up. I wish I could put this someplace where I could see the questions a little bit easier. I guess I can put it right there and see them okay. Jacob, what's going on? Hey, Matt. My question is, my son is transitioning from T-ball to coach pitch. He is struggling making contact with the ball. Is there anything I can do to help him improve? Well, I think at that age, like, I'm going to turn this down a little bit for you guys. There we go. I think at like that young of an age, it's really about just letting them swing the bat a lot. So, he's so young. It's probably hard. It's too hard to get into mechanics with him probably at that age. Like when my son was young, when he was really young, he was pretty good player, like threw the ball well, swung the bat well, and people always be like, what's the secret? What do you do with them? And I'm talking when he was like 5, probably like 5, 6, right around there. They're like, what do you do? What's the secret? What do you tell him? And I'm like, I don't tell him anything. We just throw a lot. Like he wants to play catch a lot. We hit in the house. He wants to go outside, hit in the backyard. Like we just do it a lot and he figures it out. Man, Luis Arias right there. I perfect that ball. I mean, as good as you could. It only went 98 miles an hour off the bat, and it was caught. He has no juice in this game. That was a rough first inning for me right there. Who is your favorite random player in the league? My favorite random player. Oh, I don't know if I have a favorite random player. Let me think about that real quick. Yeah, I don't have a favorite random player, honestly. All of my players that are my favorite to watch are all the players that probably are everyone's favorites to watch. All right, everyone, we're going to try to get a ton of people on here tonight. So if everyone could like this video right now, that would be awesome. We're just going to chill. I'm going to play a little MLB The Show and answer questions until Laura yells at me and tells me that she wants me to come upstairs. Let's see. Advice for a rising ninth grader trying to start on varsity. Yeah, so I've been getting this question, a lot because it's that time of year and we have a lot of ninth grader. We have a lot of every graders. There's really nothing. There's no like special thing I can tell you. I know I've said that a couple of times so far, but I wish I could give you something. The biggest advice I give to like young players trying to make varsity is one, just play your game. Two, don't worry about who you're playing against, how old they are. Sometimes players get a little bit intimidated by playing against older players. Not everyone does, but a lot of times players will get a little intimidated playing against an older player. And, it's the same thing. One lesson that I was told when I was in the major leagues, which was a very short amount of time, but it would have helped me if I continued to play, is that, you want to make sure that you don't try to play against the name on the back of the jersey and I think it's really good advice. It's actually something I did, when I was young. Well, I made my debut at 23, I believe, which now it doesn't seem that young, but back then, like it was an older league back then. And so one thing you get caught up doing a lot is you're like, oh, I'm facing, Randy Johnson tonight. I'm facing Greg Maddux. I'm facing, whoever. And you're always thinking about who you're facing. And then you start thinking about, like, at least for me, I'd be like, well, I watched this guy on TV and I watched this guy on TV. And you're always thinking about, you're not just, oh, that's baloney. They just said that I left early on a tag up. That's baloney. So it's the same thing when you're playing, you're a ninth grader and you're young. A lot of times players be like, oh, I'm playing against Jimmy, who's a senior, or Johnny, who's a junior. And it's like, who cares how old they are? I try to tell my son the same thing. He's younger, but like he gets so obsessed with how old the players are that he's playing. I'm like, who cares how old they are? He'll play against like a 12-year-old and he'll be so nervous. And I'm like, dude, you're 4 inches taller and you weigh 30 pounds more. Who cares that he's 2 years older than you? I don't care. So that would be the biggest advice that I would give you. Did I watch the LSU versus Texas series? So I've been struggling to watch very much of anything. I'm catching bits and pieces of games, and when the season started, I started out pretty strong watching. I don't want to say I watched series. The hard part for me is that, oh, get that ball, oh, nice play, what a play. The hard thing is my busiest days for baseball are Saturday and Sunday, as far as like we have tons of practices and we have hitting clinics and all these things. And that's the biggest day for college baseball. And so, I'm just not home. It's really hard for me to watch. I can almost never watch series. I try to catch bits of games, and it's like, especially if I've been at work all day, like I get in at say 8, 7:45, let's just say. And a lot of times I'll get home at 5 o'clock or so on a Saturday. And, typically my Saturdays are then, I haven't seen my family very much. So then I'm going to hang out with them and we'll usually go out to eat dinner. And by the time I get home and put the kids to bed, it's like 10 o'clock. The day's over. And then the next day I have baseball again. So, and it's a weird schedule because during the week I work also, but obviously my kids are at school. So I work nights during the week. And then, so I don't get to see them a ton sometimes during the week. So on the weekends, I can't really come home from work and be like, all right, guys, I'm going to go watch college baseball. College baseball. Let's see. Hey, Matt, thank you for your channel. I've started passing balls to my 4-year-old son using your training in a country with, sorry, it's hard to read here. Inexistent baseball, super enjoying, don't feel like using a bat yet. 4 years old, I like it, get him started young. Let's see, at what age do you start to work bunts into actual gameplay? We practice it on my 10U team, but it seems like a waste of opportunity to bunt in the game if they're only going to get 3 up. But yeah, so I agree with you. So I personally, I do not. So I coach 10U, and we have not bunted. I've never bunted actually in a 10U game. Now, if a 10-year-old is skilled at bunting and he's just like, I want to bunt for a hit, I'm like, go for it, man, if you want to do it. But very infrequently, we don't practice it a ton. I just feel like at that age, I want them swinging. I want them to learn how to hit. And we probably could spend a little bit more time on bunting as they get a little bit older. But it has become less and less of, a part of the game. The big thing is, too, is if they have the ability to run and can bunt for a hit, or, if they can run, I will practice bunting for hits. But we don't really practice sacrifice very much. Almost zero. I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't. I'm not saying I'm right with that. Because in high school, like in high school ball, we practice bunting a lot. And I'm not a big bunter, but the more I've coached high school, the more that, you're not going to have, it's awesome to be like, yeah, we're just going to, mash the ball. But very infrequently do you coach at a high school where all 9 guys can mash. You're going to have to do a little bit more small ball stuff. Let's see, what else do we have here? Hey, thank you, Christopher. I appreciate that. Oh, wait, sorry, I missed a couple other questions. Whoa, I missed a lot of questions. Sorry about that, guys. I agree with you, Conrad. That's a good way to put it. I like an eye web on my glove. How do I deal with parents that try to get too involved from the sidelines? That's a great question. Really depends. So I guess I've been lucky. I haven't had too many parents that I've had to deal with in that regard. I try to make it a point early on to, I'll talk to our parents about like allowing us to coach, and, the reason you play for us is because you want us to coach your kid. So I do make that point. Sometimes, I've had certain parents that don't listen as much. I've lost my cool a few times. I've had to tell a couple people to be quiet. I say it a little bit meaner than that. I think like 2 years ago, I had to yell at someone to shut up. The reason I got mad at that one is because, one of the parents was trying to yell at our shortstop that they lined up wrong on a cut, and I kind of had enough, and they didn't line up wrong on a cut. And, you know, I kind of yelled "shut up" pretty loud at them. But I was also taking a mound visit, and I was mad because I was yelling, "Oh, that ball's squeaking up the middle." Yes, it did. Okay. Yeah, so I was mad because we gave up a big hit on a ball that I didn't think should be a hit, and then we were setting up the cut, and like one of the parents of our team was yelling to set up a different way, and it he was set up the right way, and then when the play ended, the parent yelled that they were in the wrong position, and I was just like, I just kind of had it at that point, and I was like, what are we doing? I said that in my head, and then I just screamed, "shut up," and I took a mound visit. I think I yelled "shut up" again. I probably could have handled a little better, but let's see. But yeah, I think the best way is just to talk to the parents and let them know, like, here's my general rule. I tell this to my wife all the time too, because it is hard for parents not to coach from the sideline. Like even my wife will do it a lot. She knows nothing about baseball, and I'm like, when she starts doing it, I just look at her. I'm like, what are you doing? Stop. I'm like, you don't know. I'm being very nice here. You're not helping. But I go by this rule. When you go to a game, there's 4 things you can be. You're a player, you're an umpire, you're a coach, or you're a fan. Just be one of them. You're only allowed to be one. Can't be more than one. So if everyone takes that, if you're a player, just play the game. If you're a coach, coach your team. If you're an umpire, make the calls. And if you're a fan, cheer on your son or daughter. And that's it. So if you're a parent, don't try to coach, don't try to umpire, don't try to play. If you're a player, don't try to umpire. Mark McGuire, I think, just went deep. Did he just go deep? Oh my God, he flew out to the warning track. If I'm a coach, I don't try to umpire. I don't try to be a fan. I don't try to be a player. I just try to coach. So, like, if everyone it goes back to my man, Bill Belichick. It's like, do your job. What are you there to do? You're there to be a fan, be a fan. That's it. Oh, shit. Sorry, guys. There was one out, and I just was on first, totally not paying attention. So, yeah, that's my general rule. I think if you stick to that rule, I don't know where I heard that. I heard that someone said that a long time ago, and I was like, that makes sense. So that's what I try to do. And then, like, when I'm a parent, I'm not the coach of the team. Like, I don't try to coach. And I definitely don't try to play. Sometimes I feel like parents want to. They think they forget they're not playing in the game that their son is or their daughter is. They want to play. So I always say that to myself a lot. I'm like, dude, I'm done playing. I don't want to play anymore. Like I played long enough. Dude, what are we doing? The pitcher doesn't get over right there. They just push bunted to the right side. The pitcher just standing on the mound. Like, what are we doing, Devin? Get over. It's a disaster of a game right now. Let's see. What else? How else can I help here? Let's answer some questions. Let's see. If everyone could give the video a like again, that would be awesome. This microphone okay? It's kind of, I just realized it's like covering my entire face, but. Oh, arm care for pitchers. Sorry. Yeah, so, a couple of general rules that I kind of try to stick to when I'm thinking about arm care is like, first one is we warm up the throw. We don't throw to warm up. So I think that's always important. I have to tell my son that all the time. Like so many players are like, okay, let's go throw to get warm. And it's like, no. We have to get our body moving. We have to warm up. And then we will throw. So that's always important. I think it's important also, like, I think where a lot of players get in trouble when it comes to throwing is actually, I think a lot of players don't throw enough. So they won't throw at all, and then they, like, get on the mound or get into a game, and they just try to go from 0 to 100, and then they wonder why the next day their arm's killing them. So you have to be able to ramp up, like, the right way. You can't just go from not throwing to throwing 100%. You need to gradually build it up. That's what we've been doing over the winter time. So I think those are all important. We do pre-throwing stuff with J-band stuff or with J-bands. Kind of same idea, like get our arm moving. Same thing. See so many players like they don't do anything. They just grab a ball and start throwing. So I think it's just educating to the young kids on that, because a lot of them don't know. A lot of them never been told before. Oh, we got to get that ball, little blooper to left center field. That's the ball game we won. So those are all some things I think could help. And then depending on the age, as you get older, like you can do a lot of post throwing stuff. And then as far as pitch counts, I haven't really got into pitch counts and stuff. We do use pitch counts. We actually use the USA pitch count stuff. But again, I think pitch counts are fine. But again, what I notice a lot of players do is they'll pitch in their game and then they won't, they don't throw very much before the next time they jump back on the mound. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to scroll through these questions here. I'm looking forward to it too, John the Beagle Dad. Let's see. My thoughts on San Diego as a city. I love San Diego. The weather was great. I lived literally right next to Petco, so I was right downtown. I could play and then basically just walk to wherever I wanted to walk to and have a good bite to eat. It was awesome. I didn't even have a car in San Diego. I walked everywhere. I was just downtown. Place I was staying was walking distance to the stadium. Food was walking distance. So that area is awesome. And you can't beat the weather. I am turning 40 soon. I have 2 more weeks before I'm 40, unfortunately. Yeah, small ball and situational hitting need to be taught. Yeah, I think, like we do talk about some situational hitting stuff. It really depends on the age. Like we talk about, at my age, I'm coaching 10-year-olds right now. Like we're really kind of talking about like foundational things as far as approach. And the biggest thing with the young kids is like we're teaching to be aggressive. We're teaching to have like a aggressive mindset. Like I want the guys hitting. I don't want them afraid to make mistakes. And I think that's important to kind of instill at younger levels. And then as you get older, you slowly start to implement more discipline into their game. So you kind of start off with being aggressive. You want kids swinging the bat, in my opinion. I think you want younger players, you want them hitting. If we wanted to at 10U, a lot of times we could probably win a lot of games by just standing there and like never swinging, because a lot of times you play kids that can't throw strikes. But I always feel like that's not teaching anyone anything. So I'd rather them be a little bit more aggressive at a young age, and then as they get older, pitchers get better. They have more pitches. You have to have more of a plan. You've got to be a little more disciplined, so you can start to kind of work that stuff in. But that's the way that we do it. Again, I'm not saying that's the only way or whatever, but I just think that that's kind of our philosophy. Let's see what else we have here. Yeah, so Christopher asked about limiting throwing during the week or shutting down for several months of the year is a necessity or is necessary. So I'm all for I don't have I don't have my son throw year round. He plays a lot of different sports. He plays football. He plays basketball. He plays all kinds of sports. So he doesn't do very much throwing. For November, he doesn't really throw at all. December doesn't really throw very much at all. So those are kind of like the 2 months where he's not really throwing very much. So again, he's got other sports going on. As far as like taking it easy during the week, I'm not saying you have to throw every single day, but I do think, we see it a lot in the winter is, kids will throw. We have 2 practices a week. Some kids can't come to 2 practices a week because they have basketball or hockey or whatever. And so they'll come once a week and they'll throw, and then, they'll say their arm is sore after throwing. And, they're only throwing that 1 day a week and their arm it's not in shape. It's just like me being almost 40. If I don't work out for a while and then I go and I work out hard, I'm going to be really sore for a while. And if I just do that, if I only work out 1 day a week hard, I'm always sore, the next day. But if I work out 3 times a week and I actually get into shape, then I can recover. I recover quicker. I'm not as sore. And same thing with throwing, in my opinion. Okay, so this is a good one. Let's talk about this. My 10-year-old has hit a point where he's afraid of getting hit when facing harder throwing pitchers. He would bail before the pitch comes out of the hand. How do I get him over that hump? Yeah, that's a big one. I think most kids, a lot of young kids do that. My son's 10. He does the same thing. You can see it. He faces a pitcher, throws hard, and all of a sudden, his chest starts to come up as the pitcher's releasing the ball. So it's a really hard one to break. What I do is first I show the players how to get hit properly. And I know that they're like, I don't want to get hit at all. But, my son used to like turn open and his face and chest would be facing the ball as it's coming at him. And so we call it a roll where like the front shoulder is going to roll in. And if they're going to get hit, they're going to just get hit in the shoulder. Now, it's still going to hurt a little bit, but it's much safer. You're going to tuck your face away, your chin, so your face isn't exposed. And I think once you get them feeling a bit safer, that can help. I do have, he wears a Evo shield on his arm, makes him feel a little bit more comfortable. Some players can wear a C-flap on their helmet, feel a little bit more comfortable. So I think that can help. In practice, we actually will throw. We don't throw them, but when we're doing like front toss and stuff, we have these squishy balls, and we'll mix them in, and we'll throw some up and in at the player, and they just work on rolling and hit by the ball. So again, they don't know when the squishy ball is coming, so it kind of teaches them if they see the ball coming at them, like they've got to roll, they can't open up. So that's another thing that we do at practice. So just getting them comfortable, getting hit. I try to tell my son all the time, like, getting hit by a ball is part of the game. It's not going to happen a ton, but it is going to happen. So I feel like if you give them the tools for, what are we going to do if the ball is thrown at us? Damn, I cannot hit right now. I think they start to feel a little more comfortable. Are you still doing the USSSA bat videos to see which one your son hits best with? I purchased the Cloud AI for my son because of your videos. Great bat. Yeah, so we made a ton of videos. I actually haven't made a new one in a while because he basically tried every single bat, and we were gonna do we did competitions between bats. We didn't do all of them. I think he got super busy with basketball. So basketball ended up being like 4 days a week, and we just couldn't film enough. There wasn't enough time to film. I'll put this over here. So maybe we'll start that back up again, although now baseball starts outdoors, so it gets a little hard. Maybe we'll do it outside. That might be fun too, doing it outdoors. We actually went to the field for the first time since the fall. We went a couple days ago, and it was freezing outside. The sun was like going down. It was so cold. and he was like, I think he thought that he was going to step outside and just start hitting homers all over the place, and he didn't hit any homers. He didn't even hit the warning track. I think his furthest ball hit like right before the warning track. And then I had to listen to him talk about how much he stinks and all that stuff. So I also, he hasn't really hit a whole, he was so busy with basketball, he didn't really hit a whole lot in the winter. You know, he hit like once a week. Sometimes he'd go multiple weeks without hitting. So he was so mad about how well he didn't hit. I figured I'd take that opportunity to say, I was just like, hey, dude, I'm like, did you feel like you got better at basketball over the last 3 months? And he was like, yeah, I got it way better as the season went. I'm like, yeah, how many days a week were you playing basketball this winter? He's like, 4. I was like, oh, so you played 4 days a week and you got way better. And he's like, yep. I'm like, okay. How often have you been hitting? He's like, not really at all. And I'm like, okay, how often have you hit in the last month? He's like, a couple times. And I'm like, and how's your swing field today? How'd you hit? He's like, I stunk. I'm like, okay. So what does that tell you? Maybe you should hit a little bit more. I would say that easiest baseball saying in the world that is true is that if you want to hit often, you have to hit often. So if you want to hit well, and you want to get a lot of hits in games, well, then you got to hit a lot. It's not that difficult of a formula to figure out. How do you balance strength and conditioning, skill development, and live gameplay and practices with only 2 hours a day in season? Well, it depends what age you're talking about. So, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what age you're talking about, but you know, if you're talking about strength training and all that, let's just say we're talking about like, I don't know, a high school kid, I guess. So that might be a bomb right there. If that's not a bomb, I'm going to be pissed. It is perfect, the ball to center field, and it got caught on the warning track. This is unbelievable. So if I'm talking about a high school guy, just perfect, the ball, 114 miles an hour out. What is this game doing to me tonight? So what were we talking about? Oh, strength training and all that. Yeah. So, hey, in season, I think strength training, like, I would love if players can get 2 days a week of strength training. I think that would be great. They're not going to do as much as they did in the off season. So I would shoot for twice a week. And then you're probably playing 2 to 3 games a week. You can strength train. You know, I actually like strength training. For me, I would do it after games because you don't play back-to-back games in high school. So I always like to strength train like after a game because then it gave me a few days to recover in case I did get a little bit sore. And then what else? You talk about skill development. I mean, so I always feel like in practice, most of our practices are going to be skill development stuff. Now you got to monitor like how many swings you're taking and stuff like that. So, you know, maybe the day before a game. Hold on one sec, my chair's like falling forward. The day before a game, you know, maybe we're gonna do a little bit less. Maybe it's a lighter day. But then a day after a game, you know, we're probably gonna do more skill development stuff. There's no perfect formula. I mean, it's hard when you get into the season. There's a lot of stuff going on, but basically, I try to do it's a lot of the stuff we're doing in the off season. It's just we're not doing it as much because at that point the game becomes the most important thing. Let's see what else we got here. I'm just gonna remind everyone again, if you could give the video a thumbs up, that'd be awesome. Where is Maddie? Maddie's sleeping. I put him to sleep. What time did I get on here at? I probably put him to sleep at 9:30ish, 9:45ish, somewhere around there. He is in bed. He does not want to go to sleep. He would never go to sleep if I didn't make him, but He is not a morning person. Tough to get him up and get him to school. I'd really like him to go to bed earlier, but he just doesn't want to. All right, let's check out another question. Ooh, my phone almost fell there. Oops, apparently I put an A into the chat because I tried to catch my phone. Wow, we have so many questions. It's hard to keep up with all these. Let's see. I'm just going to pick a random one. Sorry if I miss a bunch. All right, let's see this one. Why on the MLB level is the nickel and dime, grind it out, blue collar, take what the pitcher defense gives you, for offensive philosophy, not preach more, as opposed to swing for the fences? Yeah, I don't think. Well, listen, I have not been involved in professional baseball in a while. My last year playing was 2013, but I do know players that are playing that are currently in pro ball. And I do talk to coaches that are currently in pro ball. I don't think that people are teaching. I think a lot of people assume that every hitter is just trying to hit home runs, and I don't think that's the case. I do think that the game has definitely changed from back in the day where it was very much small ball to now where it is more hit the ball hard, a little bit more pull the ball in the air, and teams are practicing that more. But I think that a lot of people, what's the word I'm trying to use? Not exaggerate, but so many people think that every hitter gets up and they're just like, gonna hit a homer this at bat. I don't think players are thinking that as much as people think. I think players are going up there saying, I'm going to get my A swing off on my pitch and I'm going to try to do damage. Like I'm going to try to hit this ball hard, like I just did with Corey Seager right there, 106. Like, I think people are doing it. There's not a lot of guys that are thinking like, I'm just going to slap this ball the other way. So I do think that is true, and I also think this, like, I don't think baseball people are dumb. I just hit a homer with Corey Seager. So I don't think baseball people are dumb. And I think people have realized that it is like the objective is to score more runs than the other team. And we feel we can do that by doing more damage, like not singling teams to death, not sacrifice bunting all the time. Like, does that need to be called for every now and then? Yes, but that's my thoughts. I don't know if I explained that very well, but oh, is that a homer? Nope, flew out. Hey, college sports revived. I'm glad I could help. What are my thoughts on teams not starting pitcher with an open day to give them more time to ramp up and put them on the IL at the beginning of the season? So, hold on. Corey Seager's playing out of position at second base. Well, you know what? Corey can play second base, okay? I mean, he doesn't play second base, but it's a damn ground ball. He can field it and throw it to first base. What do they got? They got a righty, a lefty, a righty. Who do we want to put? Let's put Felix Bautista in the game here to close things out. So I don't know how many teams are doing that. I haven't been following closely enough. I think that there should be plenty of time to ramp pitchers up, though. Like pitchers nowadays, most pitchers should be coming into camp like pretty good. A lot of guys are throwing in the offseason. It's not like the old days where you showed up to spring training. It was like, okay, now I got to get ready. Like now I got to get in shape. Back in the day, like guys would show up to camp. I'm talking about way back in the day, and they'd be like, okay, now I got to get in shape. Professional baseball players now are in shape 12 months a year, essentially. Oh, shoot. I totally forgot that in extra innings there is a guy at second base to start the inning. Yeah, so I mean, if a guy's not ready, then I guess that's not an issue. But I feel like guys should be able to get ramped up and be ready to go. That was a horrible read by McCutcheon. What are we doing, McCutcheon? Favorite pitch to throw in MLB The Show? Probably sliders. I'm just going to slider. Well, I'm going to throw one slider here. I like fastballs up and in, four seamers up and in, and sliders down and away. And I just kind of hammer away at that. Although I'm going to go with splitter right here because Batista's got a pretty filthy splitter. And he took it. That ball barely missed. I'll strike him out on a fastball. Up and in. Got him. 101. Sit down. Let's see. I got a question on Joey Gallo. He's retiring as a hitter. He's going to try to be a pitcher. I know Gallo's got a cannon. I have never seen him pitch. I haven't followed him at all. Could he do it? I don't know his background on pitching. I'll tell you the most interesting hitter to pitcher thing that I've seen. So Matt Bush, who's, I don't even know who he's with now. I haven't followed him in a little while, but I think a lot of people know who Matt Bush is. So he was first round pick of the Padres the year before. I think it was the year before I was drafted. What number pick did he go? He wasn't first overall, was he? He was like top three overall pick, I believe, something like that. Well, anyways, he was drafted as a shortstop. My first full professional season, we were in Lake Elsinore together, and he struggled. He couldn't, he wasn't hitting well. I'm not gonna say he wasn't a good hitter, but he wasn't hitting well. He wasn't fielding great. We were playing in Sacramento. Not Sacramento. Sacramento's not in that league. We were playing in what the hell field was that? I don't know. I can vividly remember the field. I just don't remember who the hell played there. And I remember he threw a bullpen, and everybody was watching him throw the bullpen because he didn't pitch for us. He was our shortstop. I was our second baseman. He was our shortstop. And he ended up throwing a bullpen, and he was throwing like high 90s, and everybody was watching like, holy shit, like this guy has an absolute bazooka. And that was the beginning of him transitioning away from fielding and into pitching. And, then he had some other kind of off the field stuff happen, but he's been a pitcher in the big leagues now for a while. And I saw that transformation happen. So he was also a lot younger and didn't have a major league career, and he was a great pitcher in high school too. Like if he didn't, I'm assuming when the Padres took him, they kind of said, well, if the hitting thing doesn't work out, we'll let him pitch because he had a cannon for an arm. When should you teach your kid to throw breaking balls? So this is really interesting. I taught my son how to throw a breaking ball when he was like 3 years old. Like literally when he was 3, if I would go back, I'll have to go find some video. Like he asked me how to throw a curveball when he was really, really little, and I showed him. And he throws a really good curveball. He threw it last year as a 9-year-old. He was one of the only ones that throws it. He throws it for strikes, and it breaks pretty good, and he's got good technique with it. And I let him throw it. Now, he doesn't throw it like, he's not like throwing 40% curveballs. He's probably throwing like, I don't know, 15% curveballs maybe. Maybe a little, 15 to 20% curveballs, something like that. He's mostly fastballs. But so I let him throw it. I've seen a lot of studies where it's like the stress is not, everyone thinks like curveballs add a ton of stress. I've seen stuff where it shows how, the most stress on the arm is the fastball and it's less on the curveball. I feel like if you throw it properly, then you'll be all right. Don't take that's just my, I am not an expert on this. So. But those are my thoughts. Matt, check out the Boston Dynamics robot. I have. So I follow Um, I'm a big investor in Tesla. I've been a really big investor in Tesla for a long time. And so I keep my eye on robotics and, following like Figure AI and Aptronics and Boston Dynamics and all those companies. I follow them all pretty closely, and some of them are great. The Boston Dynamics one is amazing, but I'm hoping that Tesla's Optimus is. I'm hoping there will be a lot of them in the next couple of years. Matt, I'm a young high school coach. Is it better for me to be the head JV coach or be the varsity assistant? The head JV coach, I would plan practice, make lineups, etc. That's a good question. I've never been a head coach at the JV level. I've been a head coach at the varsity level. So it's tough to say. I think that I've learned a lot in both situations. So like I've learned a lot as an assistant coaching under a head coach that's really good, and learned a lot from them there. But there's nothing like being a head coach where you can actually be the decision maker. You mentioned practice plans, which you're able to run the practice, you're able to run the games, you're able to, again, I don't know at the JV level if things happen off the field, if you're going to have to talk with the varsity head coach about things. But I think being a head coach at any level is awesome because that's like you're the guy. You got to make all the decisions. It's a lot easier when everyone's got an opinion when they're not the person that has to make the final decision. And everything seems so easy when you're not making the decisions. But then when you have to make the decisions, you realize it's not that easy. So I think that I've learned a ton just by being a head coach. So again, I don't know your exact situation, and I don't know how varsity is and JV and all that stuff, but I do think being a head coach is, I've learned a ton doing that. Let's see here. Ma'am, my kid is 9 years old. His team is not very competitive, but the organization is great and focused on development. What do you recommend to keep him focused on the long game versus short-term wins? Yeah, like we try to win, obviously, because I think, kids, it's fun. The kids have more fun. I'll tell you this, like as the owner of a program, I always get the most complaints from teams that are losing because like no one likes losing. So if you win, like people don't complain as much. If you lose, you're going to get a lot of complaints. Even if you lose, but the kids are learning a lot and everything else, like you'll still get complaints about, especially if you're losing a lot. So I do think winning is important and kids have more fun winning, but it's like, I also try to explain to people and kids like what are the goals, at 9 years old, at 10 years old, like what are the goals? So the goals are one, to have fun, right? Which again, that is where it's tough because kids sometimes they lose and they don't have fun and then they want to go play somewhere else. But like we're trying to have fun. We're trying to instill like a love of the game. The goal of any coach at the 9U level should be like get your players to want to come back and play baseball the next year and don't get them to want to quit. Like that's literally like one of the main goals is to make them love baseball and want to play the next season. So, I think that's all important, but we're also trying to get the players better. We are trying to develop them. We're trying to teach them about the game. And, I think a lot of things too, like we talked a lot about at every age, but even those ages, like, okay, let's learn like a lot of things that are going to help you outside of the game, like how you're going to treat your teammates, how you're going to treat the coaches, how you're going to treat the umpires, how you're going to, mental game stuff, like how are you going to persevere through tough times, like baseball, you're going to get out a lot, like how do we deal with failure, all those things. So there's a lot of things like you're trying to teach. So I try to explain that to everybody. And like winning is important, obviously, and kids want to win, but it's like if you found a good program, and it's hard to find good programs, if you find a good program, what they really care about the kids and they're doing all of those other things, and your team just happens to lose a bunch, like, I don't know. You can leave and try to go someplace that wins a lot more, but there's some programs that win more, but you're gonna not get some of the other stuff. And if you do get, if you do get all the other stuff and you win, well, then yeah, that's an easy decision. But let's see, what else do we have here? My little league coach took advantage of my son pitching in 11 to 13 because he was throwing hard for his age. He was already 6'3". He would throw him 120 pitches to win, and they did. Okay. Yeah. So, unfortunately, like that can be tough on coaches. It could be just because I own the program, but I always make sure that I put like the player's safety. That's why I do the USA pitch counts, and I'm just like, listen, these are the pitch counts we're gonna do, and no matter what, I just even if we're doing well, even if the pitcher's doing awesome and we're winning the game, and it's like if we decide like this is how many pitches he's throwing, and he gets to that pitch count, like we're gonna take him out, and sometimes we might lose the game because of it, but I'm like they're 10 or they're 12 or they're 13. It's like whatever, you know. We'll have some coaches that sometimes will be like, they'll pitch a pitcher over the pitch count, and maybe a parent will get upset about it. This doesn't happen a lot, but every now and then it will happen. And the coach is like, well, like I talked to the player and he said he felt fine, and blah blah blah, whatever. It's like, well, every player is going to say they feel fine. Like nobody wants to come out of the game, so I always stress to everybody again, like we're playing the long game, and if we lose one game because we take a pitcher out at his pitch count and we lose, like I don't think it's the end of the world. So that's my thoughts on it. What was my favorite Little League home run? Like my personal favorite, like one that I hit? That's a good question. Let me think real quick. So my 12-year-old year in Little League, I hit a lot of home runs that year. I never hit a home run in 10-year-old or 11-year-old Little League. And then 12-year-old Little League, I hit like 20 home runs. So I hit a bunch. I don't remember all of them. If I had to think like quickly off the top of my head, I feel like my 12-year-old All-Star team, those home runs stick out in my head. We were playing against Danvers National, and I hit a home run to beat them. Not a walk-off, but just I hit a big home run to beat them. The first game of the tournament, I remember that one pretty well. It was to left field. What was his name that I hit it off of? Billy Langmaid. I think that was his name that I hit the home run off of. That was a long time ago. It's kind of weird the things you remember. So I remember that one. That was a big one. And then the next game we played against like Beverly West, and I hit 2 homers that game. And I remember thinking like, I am the man. I thought it was awesome because I hit like 3 homers in the first 2 games. I don't think I hit another one in the All-Stars, but those are some that stick out in my mind that I remember. I do remember, I think it was against the A's, my 12-year-old year. I hit a ball that I feel like went over the light tower, but it didn't. But it felt like it did. I remember that one. Those are my favorite ones. It's funny sometimes you remember that stuff a little bit more vividly than you remember like, my major league home run. I remember my 12-year-old home runs almost more. Yep, I do think there will be robots everywhere. Actually, on the ride home today, I was talking with my wife. I don't have a whole lot of hobbies in life. My hobbies are like sports, so baseball, football, basketball, any sport. It's a big hobby of mine, and then investing. And if you watch my channel, you know this. Like, I invested back when I got drafted. When was that? 2006. I invested very heavily in Apple and did really well with that. And then took McGuire, and then I took I took a decent amount of my I shouldn't say I still own a lot of Apple, but I took some of my profits from Apple. And back when Tesla was like a $30 billion company, I invested a good amount into Tesla, and now it's it got up to a $1.5 trillion company. I have not sold a single share of Tesla. I'm actually still, now that it's like $750 billion market cap, I'm still buying shares because I do think this is my prediction. You can all come and make fun of me in the future, but no, get back to first. I do think Tesla eventually will be the biggest company in the world, or the highest value company in the world, but not everyone agrees with me with that. So we're talking today about it because that's all I talk about is sports and the stock market. So we're talking a lot about robots. I do think there's going to be a lot of robots walking around the earth in 5 years. Laura told me, I don't know what I'm talking about, but she also said that when I first invested in Tesla, she was like, Matt, no one's driving electric cars. And then I said, just talk to me in like 3, 4, 5 years. So now I remind her all the time when she said that. And I say, well, now the stock is like, I don't even know how much it's gone. Whatever 30 billion to 750 billion is. My thoughts on the Mets this season? Well, I'll tell you what, I was playing against the Mets in MLB The Show a few days ago, and having to get through Lindor and get through, hold on, I got to catch this ball. Get through Lindor and Soto and Alonso, like a lot of offense over there. So I guess it'll come down to their pitching. Oh, he's stealing. Oh, got him out. Damn, he's safe. That was a perfect throw, too. Yeah, bedtime struggle with 10-year-olds. It is difficult. My daughter's so easy. She's 7, and she's like me, where she falls asleep easy. She gets tired. So she is a morning person. She's not a night person. I am a morning person. I am not a night person. Like, it's 10:45 right now, and I'm like, I was getting tired when I was eating dinner tonight. So I've always been a morning person. I've never been a night person. Like in college, when everyone was like getting ready to go out at like 11 o'clock or whatever, I'd be like, my eyes would always be closing. So my daughter's easy to put to bed because she wants to go to bed. But my son, he is a night owl. He's like my wife, and he does not want to go to sleep. Do I ever play the older MLB The Shows that I'm in and play? So, no, I don't. I only play the most current one. I don't even remember the last MLB The Show I was in. I always stunk in all of them. So it's never really fun playing a game with yourself when, your overall is like a 42. It's not that fun. And I do remember, so if you guys remember, they had a college baseball game I just went deep. Stay fair, stay fair, stay fair, stay fair. Foul ball. Damn it. They had a college baseball game that I was in. It It might have only been around for like a year or so, but I remember when they came out with it. I'm going to get thrown out at third here. Yep, they threw me out at third. Oh my God, he called me safe. That's a terrible call, sir. So I was in the game, and we went out and got it, and we brought it back, and like all my buddies at Wake Forest were already like, we were pumped up to play. And I remember I put it on, and I was nothing like myself. I was super slow. I had horrible plate discipline. Like everything was the opposite. I was like, this is a joke. Did they do any research whatsoever? I'm like, the two things I can do are run, and I have good strike zone awareness. And I'm like, and both of those are terrible in this game. And I like threw the game out. I never played it because my guy it wasn't even that my guy stunk in it. It's just like it wasn't even close to what I really was. Let's see. Let's go to another question here. Oh, the golden bat rule. So I made a video on the golden bat rule. If you don't know what the golden bat rule is, basically like you can at any point in the game. Well, I mean the rule doesn't exist, but people have like said like it could potentially happen one day. Let's say Mark McGwire here, because I'm here with Mark McGwire. Let's say you got Mark McGwire on your team, and you can save that golden bat to where like you can bring Mark up at any point. So you get the bases loaded in the ninth, and you can be like, you know what? Let's use the golden bat. Let's bring up Mark McGwire to hit. So that would be the golden bat. Oh my God, I did it again, guys. I thought there were 2 outs and fly ball. I just got doubled off. So what are my thoughts on it? I think it's yeah, I think it's too far away from what the game is to do it. So do I think it's like a terrible idea? No, but I just think it changes the game a lot. Like imagine anytime you got the bases loaded, you could just bring your best hitter. Like that guy's stats are going to be out of control. Every time the bases are loaded, you're bringing your best player to play. He's going to finish the year with 290 RBI. Ideas or advice to improve and develop speed for a 13-year-old. Yeah, so I went on a little bit of like a speed. I was gonna call it a speed kick, but like, because my son he's not slow, but he's not fast, and I wanted to try to help him get faster. So, I did a lot of research, and to get faster is actually not. It's not extremely difficult. It's actually pretty easy. At least the people that I were following, and I was following some people that they're pretty big on the internet. And one guy's a high school speed coach and had a ton of like really high school track coach, I guess, had a ton of really successful or really fast kids there. And the things that we came up with was that you were going to basically, golly, Arias has no power. I mean, we know he doesn't, but like every ball he hits, you can't hit it hard in this game. So we're going to run hard, like only like we did it like twice a week. And it was hard to stick to it because he had basketball so much. But what I'd like to get back into it. Basically, we're going to sprint 2 to say 3 times a week. No more than 3. And when we do it, we're going to time it. So everything's going to be timed. We're going to track it or measure it, however you want to think about it. And then we're just going to record it. We're going to post it so we know he knows how fast he's running. And that ball's smashed in the gap. Oh, it's a homer. What? Hold on, everybody. I need to replay that. That ball went out of the park. little ball went out of the park. I would flip my camera around and show you, but I can't do it. I'm going to watch the replay right here. The ball went out of the park, and they didn't call it a home run. Where is it? The ball hit the woman. The ball bounces, it goes over the fence, it hits this lady in the face, and it comes back on the field, and we're playing it. We're playing it live. We'll do it live. We're playing it live off the woman's face. So, anyways, back to sprinting. So, we do that. And then we do work on, so I started to work a little bit on like some, not form running stuff, but just some mechanical stuff. We started doing a lot of explosive stuff. So I was doing box jumps. He was doing box jumps, broad jumps. So a lot of jumping stuff for distance, for height. We were doing a little bit of like weighted sled or weighted run. So I had like a sled that had not a ton of weight on it. I think I got it written down exactly how much weight I was adding. It was actually a lot less. People, I think that you're supposed to add like a ton of weight when you're running, like resisted running. I think we were only adding like 15% of his body weight, something like that. So we were doing that. And then just making sure that we recover and not run like too much. So those were like the main. I have this all written down. I'm trying to go off memory. I have it all written down. And again, like I said, I would like to get back into it a lot more because he needs it. Let's see. Can I explain the MLB scouting scale? So I'm not an expert in this. I know it's a 20 to 80 scale. I believe 50 is basically like, I think 50 is your big league average. I am smoking balls right now. That ball is going to get caught. Another perfect caught. Yeah, so and you're going to get scouted in 5 different areas. So hitting, power, running, fielding, and throwing. And typically you'll get like a present value and then where they project you to be. But I've never had to really use that scale before. When I recruited in college, we didn't use it. We didn't recruit off the 20 to 80 big league scale. We used our own scale. And then when I do it for our teams, I use a 1 to 5 scale. So I just keep it like pretty easy. What do I think of SpaceX? I'll do a real quick talk on SpaceX. So I would invest in SpaceX if I was able to. I know. I don't want to get into like a political talk. I know Elon Musk right now is like, a lot of people have their thoughts on him right now. But I will say, I think he's pretty darn smart. And like when I invested in companies, so I invested in Apple, well, for 2 reasons. 1, Steve Jobs, and 2, I thought that every Apple product that I used, I noticed that, I used an MP3 player and then I got an iPod and I was like, well, and then I was like, I'll never go back to an MP3 player other than an iPod. And then I had a computer my whole life, and then I got a MacBook, and then I was like, well, I'm never going to go back to it. Now, some people might not agree with me. That's fine. Some people hate Apple products, but I was like, well, I'll never go back to a MacBook or to a non-MacBook again. That's when I bought into the stock, actually. And then I already owned a ton of stock, and I had a cell phone for a long time, and then I got an iPhone, and I was like, well, I'm never going back to another iPhone again, to anything other than an iPhone again. So that just gave me more and more conviction. I was like, every product that I use for Apple, I tell myself I'm never going back to the old product again. And now I've done that with my car too. So I obviously didn't have a Tesla my whole life, and then I bought a Tesla, and I was like, I'll never go to another car. So again, some people might hate Teslas. That's fine. But I just know for me personally. So I did that, and I said, Elon is extremely smart, and I'm going to invest in the guy that I think I'm going to invest in the smartest guy. I'm not saying he's the smartest guy in the world, but I've had good, I was going to say good luck. I don't know if it's good luck, but I've had luck investing in really, 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 really smart people. Let's see. Who's winning the World Series this year? Well, I'll tell you all something. I always place a friendly wager. Actually, I think we've talked about this before. I place a friendly wager every year in the NFL on who's going to win the Super Bowl, and I have a crazy amount of success with this, and I never pick the favorite. I won't bore you all and go. I'm not going to bore everyone and go back through the last 15 years, but I've picked the Super Bowl winner 7 of the last 15 years. I didn't just pick them; I bet on them. I pick one team every year. I pick the Eagles. I always put the bet on in the March-April timeframe. So right about now, I just did it again. I don't know if I should tell you who I picked, but so I did it last year in March. I picked the Eagles, and they were nowhere close to the favorites actually because they had such a bad finish to the prior year. And I picked them, and they ended up signing Barkley and anyway, so I picked the Eagles, and then I can't remember all the years now, but I picked the year the Rams won the Super Bowl. I picked the Rams. They were my team. The year the Bucks won it with Brady, I picked the Bucks. I started doing this the year the Patriots beat who did they beat? Was it the Seahawks? No, it wasn't the Seahawks. It was way before then. But anyways, I'm I think I'm 7 for the last 15 years or something like that. I'm almost 50%, which, and I'm not picking anywhere close to the favorites. I think the first bet I put on with the Patriots to win the Super Bowl, and they were, I don't know what the odds were. I probably made enough money on that one bet to be able to bet for the next 20 years and still come out on top, but I've won 6 other bets. So, anyways, I got off track. You guys know who my pick is this year? This is actually it's not actually because I thought this team was going to win the World Series. It's more because it's a little bit of a homer bet. But I bet the Red Sox this year, and the reason I did it was because the odds, I got them at 30-1 odds, I think, something like that. And they're probably still not going to win the World Series, but I like to do it. I do it in football because I'm trying to win. In baseball this year, I usually don't do it in baseball, but I was like, it'll make me cheer for the Red Sox even a little bit harder. And I actually think at 30-1 odds, I was like, they felt like when they traded for Crochet, I was like, okay, it feels like they're going to try to start to actually win because it hasn't felt like they've really tried to win. And then they signed Bregman. And now the Yankees pitching staff is falling apart. And I'm like, all of a sudden now my bet's not looking too bad. Red Sox could win the AL East, and all you got to do in baseball is get into the playoffs, man, and anything can happen. Have I ever had a player go to the show that I coach? So none of our players have played in the big leagues yet. But we have a bunch of players in the minor leagues, and I do think someone's going to get to the big leagues this year. So, yes, I do believe that that will happen. All right, I'm going to check the last few questions here. Who's my sleeper team for what? Football or baseball? I'll let you guys know my football. So I got I picked the Rams. I got them at 26-1 odds. And for me, I think like 26-1 for the Rams is undervaluing them too much. So, and I'll give you my 5-second reason why. I think their defensive line is young. I usually, if I'm going to pick a team to win, it's for a few reasons. One, I think the defense. One of the reasons I picked the Eagles last year, I thought their defensive line was going to be awesome, and it was awesome. I think the Rams are the same thing. Like, they're super young. A lot of people can't even name all their defensive linemen, but they've got a lot of them. They're all young. They can rush the passer, so I always start there. And then on offense, got to have a quarterback. Stafford, even though he's old, really good. McVay, genius coach. And I think that a healthy Puka with a healthy Devontae Adams, I think that if their offensive line played a lot better as the year went on, but I think that they can score points, and I think that McVay is just a genius. And actually last year, like, they came back on the Eagles and like scared the crap out of me because I had the Eagles obviously to win the Super Bowl, and they beat the Vikings, and then they like scared the crap out of me in the snow against the Eagles. They're just really good. And I think at 26-1, I think I'll take those odds. So, and I told my wife, I'm like, if the Rams win the Super Bowl this year, then like Vegas needs to hire me because this is too many years in a row that I've done this. So that's what I usually do. I usually go through it and I'm like, like anyone could pick, you pick the Chiefs or the Ravens or the Bills or, their odds are just like, there's no value there for me. Or like, again, I don't know if I said the Eagles, but the Eagles, same thing. Even like the 49ers odds, they were like fifth best odds to win the Super Bowl. And I was just like, I think the Rams are better than the 49ers. And then I think you had the Commanders I think the Commanders on offense are going to be tough to stop because Jaden Daniels is a beast. But anyways, I could talk football forever. Let's see. Let's do one more question, maybe one or two more questions. Coaches argue ball strikes in baseball, but in softball it's frowned upon, and often softball coaches seem afraid to do it. Why is that? I'm not sure. So I'll say this, and this is probably, again, I'm probably like really weird with this. I almost never argue balls and strikes as a coach. Like, we play a lot of teams where like the other coach is on the umpire all the time, whether that's high school or travel. Travel ball, I never say anything. And people are like, I think people think I'm crazy for it. I don't concern myself with the umpire's call behind the plate at all. I go into every game. No offense to umpires. This is not meant to be offensive to them. But I go into every game saying that the umpire is going to miss a ton of calls. And he's going to miss them for our team. He's going to miss them for the other team. The guy's not going into the game saying, I'm going to stick it to that Antonelli baseball team. Like, he's trying to make the right call or she's trying to make the right call, and they're going to make calls I don't agree with. And like, I just feel like you watch so many games and you have like both coaches screaming at the umpires, and it's like, I don't know. I just don't concern myself with it. There's been like in my whole career, at travel ball, I never do it. Maybe like one time. High school ball, I think twice in my entire coaching career have I felt like the calls were going like really, really one way. And I did mention something to him. I didn't even make a big deal. I called time, went talked to my pitcher, waited for the umpire to come out, and then I gave him a piece of my mind out there. But like, that was it. Actually, I lie. There was one game actually against Arlington Catholic when I was at Bishop Fenwick where I did yell at that's my only time in my life actually. I'm thinking I yelled from the bench and he turned and told me one more word and I was gone. But he was horse manure that game. I'll say that. Like, and it depends on who your catcher is too. So like I always have a sign with my catcher that if I want to know if the ball is a strike, like he's not going to say yes or shake his head or no, whatever. Like I have him do something more subtle. So like you can either have them like grab their mask or like I had one catcher that, you know, when he looked over and I'd ask him, he would just put his head down. If he just put his, you know, he just kind of like dropped his head a little bit. And if he dropped his head, that means like that ball's over the plate. And we were playing Arlington Catholic and I could tell from Chris D'Angelo's reactions that like these balls are over the plate. And then I finally it was like 3 in a row. And then I asked him, he just looked over. I was like, Chris. And he gave me like the little signal, like, yeah, those are all over the plate. And that's when I kind of like lost it and yelled at the guy. And he like snapped back so fast. And then I actually yelled something back out again. He told me he told me he didn't want to hear from me or whatever. And I yelled back at him again and he didn't say anything. But it was funny because my dad was coaching. He coached with us obviously at Fenwick. And then he went to check the JV game for a second. I'm not sure why he even went to do that, but he went to check the JV game. I don't know if something happened there and he went over that field. And when he got back, people were talking about how I like ripped into the umpire during the game. My dad didn't believe me because I have never done that before. He was like, no chance. I'm like, I swear to God, I'm like, I lost it for a second. He was like, of all the times. Because he never would go to the JV game ever during a varsity game. I still don't remember why he did. Something had to have happened. But he was like, of all the times that I left the field to go to the JV game was the one time you blew up on an umpire. Yeah, maybe I'll do a live NFL draft show. Although, like, when the NFL draft is going, I am like so, like I think I'm the general manager of the Patriots when the draft's going on. That's how into the game, into it I am. And I will to this day. I come out of every football draft. Golly, I need to have a football YouTube channel. I come out of every NFL draft convinced that I would have put the best team together. So let me tell you a couple quick NFL stories real fast. So the year Lamar was drafted by the Ravens, the Patriots decided to draft Isaiah Wynn and Sony Michel before Lamar. And I called my dad at the Isaiah Wynn pick, and I said, I'm trying to think exactly how it worked. Did we trade back? I just remember I called my dad, and no one was really saying that Lamar should go this high, but I was like, I would take Lamar right here. And we took Isaiah Wynn, and I was like, son of a gun. And then we ended up trading. I think the Sony Michel pick, I think we traded back and then drafted Sony. So we traded back. I remember we were drafting. and I think I said, like, Lamar has to be the pick here. Please, for the love of God, here comes Lamar. And I think we traded back. And then I got pissed. And then we got back. It got back to us, and Lamar was still there. And I called my dad again, and I was like, "Here it is. Here's Lamar." And we took Sony Michel, and I was freaking pissed. And nothing against Sony Michel or Isaiah Wynn, even though neither did very much for us. But I was all on Lamar Jackson that draft. That was the guy that I wanted. Brady was getting old, and I wanted Lamar. And then he went to the Ravens, and now Lamar's maybe one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Maybe the best quarterback in the league. So that's who I wanted that year big time. Didn't get him. And I do remember also when they took Sony Michel. Again, nothing against Sony, but I was like, how are we taking Sony Michel over Nick Chubb? I watched Sony Michel. I watched him in college, and I watched him a little bit. I just never saw like a big burst from him. And they were like, oh, he can pass protect and he can catch. And I just never saw it. I just never. And I mean, I know Nick Chubb had the knee injury, but I watched Nick Chubb and I was like, this dude's different. Sony Michel is not different. And so if I was drafting that year, we would have taken Lamar, and then I would have taken Nick Chubb. I mean, I don't know if I would have taken Nick Chubb over Sony, but what were my other ones? Oh man, the Micah Parsons draft. Oh, when Parsons lasted to the Cowboys, I was screaming and yelling. That was my guy. I pick one guy every year in the draft where I'm like, this is the guy I want. Micah Parsons was the guy that I wanted that year. We ended up taking freaking Mac Jones, but I was like screaming at the television, trade up, trade up, trade up. Like Micah Parsons kept falling. I was like, that's who I want. The Aaron Donald year, I forget where Donald went in the draft to the Rams when he came out of Pittsburgh, but Donald was my guy that year. Like I was screaming to trade up for Aaron Donald, and I think we were drafting too late. But Aaron Donald was my guy. The J.J. Watt year, J.J. Watt was my guy. I like the defensive line, as you can tell. I like pass rusher, I like the defensive line. But every year I pick a guy. Who's my guy this year? I want the Patriot. I think Abdul Carter is going to be nasty. I think everybody does. The question is if no, that's not really a question because I just hope that the Patriots have a chance to get Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. I pray that Shedeur Sanders goes 3. That's all I do. I pray that he goes 3. I know the Patriots they need offense, but I am in love with defensive linemen that can rush the passer. I'd have 4 defensive linemen that can rush the passer, and then I'd go from there. So anyways. Oh, if Bill Belichick called me to join his staff at UNC, I'd be there tomorrow. But, well, that's a lot of football talk. Actually, I'll answer this one question on Royce Lewis because I did he hurt his hamstring again? Because I saw him pull up when he was running. So I'm going to tell you something really interesting about that injury and just about injuries in general. So I hurt my hamstring once. And it's interesting. The year I hurt my hamstring, I was in the greatest shape of my life. The greatest shape of my life. So sometimes people see someone pull a hamstring or pull a muscle and they're like, oh, he's out of shape or whatever. No. The year I pulled my hamstring, I came into shape. I could have been a Navy SEAL that year. No, I'm horrible in the water. But, like, I think you get what I'm saying. Like, I was in incredible shape. I had no body fat. I could run like crazy. I was in the best shape of my life. And I always came in good shape. So, like, when I'm saying I'm in the best shape of my life, that's, like, really, really good shape. Pull my hamstring. So, and some guys, like, I will say this, though. I knew I was going to pull my hamstring because the damn Nationals didn't give me a single day off for, like, 30 straight days of spring training. They made me play every single game. They never gave me everyone else got days off. I don't know what they didn't like me. I don't think. I think they were trying to get me hurt, but my hamstring was so tight. by like day 30 of spring training, I kept saying like, I'm gonna freaking pull my hamstring, and I pulled it. That was terrible. I was out for like a month. I'd never pulled a muscle in my life. That was the first one. But I don't know. Injuries are weird. Like I've had freak injuries. I hurt my knee one year, just dove, came down weird on my knee, hurt it. Like Royce Lewis, he gets hurt all the time. And some people are like, oh, guy's made of glass, whatever. Like, I don't know. Sometimes it's bad luck. Sometimes like he could be in great shape, and I don't know, just freak things happen. I don't know anything about Royce Lewis. I don't know him. I don't know. I know his history of injuries because he seems to get injured all the time, but yes, John, you're going to get a lot of video game Matt. A lot more this year. Anyways, I appreciate everyone hanging out. I didn't realize it's already 11:19. I got to get going. I got a busy day tomorrow. I got a ton of work to do, ton of administrative work to do for Antonelli Baseball. So, got a busy day doing that. But I appreciate everyone hanging out, talking some baseball, talking some football. And we'll try to do this again another time. So, until then, have a great night. And if you get bored, just go watch a bunch of our YouTube videos. Got a whole bunch of them. Got a couple coming on tomorrow as well. And I will film that next episode of Road to the Show. Make sure you check those out if you haven't checked them out. I think they're pretty funny. That's all we got, everyone. We'll talk to you later.